Welcome to the Connie G Show, everybody. My name is Conrad, and how are you, buddy? Today is the 14th of September, 2022, if you can believe it. So, it's still 100 degrees here in Oklahoma, and we don't seem to get any relief from that Mother Nature. Mother Nature's been breathing her hot, stinky hot dog breath all over Oklahoma all summer. And so, not just Oklahoma, I imagine there are many parts of this great country that have been feeling the wrath of the heat. So, if you're like me out there and you're wondering when it's going to end, and when's fall going to start, and when can we have those nice, just beautiful days? I'm not talking about the mornings. Yeah, mornings are nice here now. You can get out there, it's 60 degrees, 65 degrees, but you can't make it go from 65 degrees to 100 degrees in one day, buddy. That ain't going to work. Not for this podcaster. So, if you are listening to this, thank you. You found the Connie G Show, whether you found it on the Apple Podcast or Spotify, or maybe you found it on YouTube and you watch this show. Thank you. Or maybe you're a fan of Con Radio and you like all the stuff we do. Thank you for that. So, I'm back in the shed. It's just me today. I left Shannon alone. I spent the day with him yesterday. As you guys know, we're working on our real estate deal. I'm going to start calling it that. Trying to buy a restaurant. Talked about that on the OK Taco Show. But I put an offer in, and it got rejected. I put an offer in based on the advice from the lender, who's also the seller, and yet when I put the offer he told me to put in, they're like, no way. So it's very confusing, and so I put a different offer in, and I'm waiting to hear back on that, and we'll go from there. It's kind of just a weird thing. So yesterday, Shannon invited me over to participate in a learning experience for me. He wanted to know if I wanted to sign up for a course on rebuilding a BMW front end. And I accepted the invitation. I thought that's a great way to spend the day, is fixing his car and taking that off of his plate before we jump into this new journey that we're on, the Wheel and Sky journey. So, got over there around 11, went on a good run, sent all the documentation that I was required to send to the lender, to the bank for the thing, and then got over to Shannon's house and, went over some numbers with them. That's something we do now. We just, get a piece of paper, go over some numbers. I don't know what they mean. And then we got to work. We had the car all jacked up and ripped the wheels off, and then just started ripping out control arms and sway bars and popping freaking tie rod ends and stuff. We're just taking stuff apart. And we had a bunch of parts to put back on, but we didn't even know if we could get these apart. And we had the little forks. I don't know if you ever have done a front end work, but they sell this gigantic two-pronged fork, basically, that you can put in those little ball joints and pop out. And they sell all kinds of stuff. They sell presses. I'm sure they have a pneumatic, and they probably have, at this point, some sort of ball joint loosener that's like a 12-volt battery or 18-volt battery. Like Milwaukee probably has one. But we went old school with it, and everything went smoothly, really. I mean, as smooth as it could go. We had it all pretty much torn apart except for one lower. The only one that was really that bad, the boot was just gone, and who knows how long it's been gone. And so that ball joint had seized up inside that control arm, and we frickin' pounded that fork into it, and we got the big sissy bar on it, and we're trying, and eventually we put enough WD-40 on it, WD-90 all over it, and Shannon lit it on fire, which was a whole ordeal, and eventually the heat mixed with the lubrication. That's all you ever need, guys, is heat and lubrication. That's all you need. If you get hot and lubricated, dude, you can do about anything. So we got it popped off, and once we did that, boom, slapped it all together. Tightened everything down according to BMW spec, which is just tight as hell. I don't know if that's true, but that's what we did. And we're good to go. And then I know he spent the day working on he had a valve cover leak, and so he was working on that. And I spent the day, most of the morning, trying to basically documenting or recategorizing expenses from the taco truck, and paying the tax, sales tax, all the stuff, paying quarterly taxes, and then trying to figure out what parts I got to buy for my zero turn, my X mark, because it's leaking oil, and I'm 99% sure it's the lower oil seal, but you know, it's just like anything else. Anytime you start diving into something that you have to remove the clutch and drive pulley, and it's not like it's a hard thing, but what you do is like, well, what needs to be replaced up there other than this then? Should I change my idlers for my drive system, because they have 3,000 hours on them and they're pretty worn? And should I change the belt clearly so I don't have to mess with that? And so it's just that kind of thing. It was a diagnosis day, and also birthday shopping for my son, and his birthday's coming up. He'll be 10, if you guys can believe that. Been listening to me for a long time, you'd understand that that's wild, but he'll be 10 years old in about 10 days, so maybe I'll have him out here for a show to talk about what he got, which is used, by the way, because, everything he gets is a hand-me-down, but he's a happy kid and he's good, so it should be good. So because I accepted the scholarship to BMW Front End University, I was lucky enough to get a free lunch out of the deal. And so Shannon said, hey man, we're going to go get the ball joint press at Harbor Freight, try to find one. We did find one. It didn't work because his strut on that BMW is in the way. It's just at a certain angle that this press, and even after modifying the press, we weren't able to use it. So it was a waste of money. But we also had to get a 21 millimeter wrench. We had a 7/8, which is close, but it was just too sloppy for one bolt. We were going to strip it out, so we went and got the right wrench. We had a socket, but we needed the wrench because it was in a precarious location on the car. And so we got the wrench and we got the press, and he's like, I'll take you get a sandwich. And I was thinking, there's this really good seafood place in Shawnee. If you're ever in Shawnee, Oklahoma, 1, bring holy water, and 2, you might want to think about checking it out. It's called Long John Silver's, and it's pretty good. It's got hush puppies. They do like a basket deal where you can get a couple. You don't know if it's chicken or fish. That's the cool thing about Long John Silver's. They look the same. They taste the same. And you put a bunch of this oil or vinegar all over it, and it is good stuff. And I thought we were going to go there, but ultimately, which reminds me, I thought maybe there, Whataburger. There's a Whataburger in Shawnee, and it's not like it is in, there's a lot of people in Wichita or in Kansas City because of Patrick Mahomes. He brought Whataburger to Kansas, and people are freaking out. I'm never that blown away by it, which is kind of hurtful because it's hurtful to my family. My dad is a huge Whataburger fan. When he was in the military, the Air Force, and he got through basic and was on some sort of, I don't know what they do, training or learning, maybe he's in his tech school or something. to become an aircraft mechanic. He was stationed in Florida, but we lived in Texas. And he told me that he would just, he would get a Whataburger taquito every night before work, and he would have a Whataburger sandwich every day. And then my whole existence of growing up in Kansas was based on his love of Whataburger, And what's so odd is it's only a couple hours away from where we lived, but he wouldn't like it. Every once in a while, like once a year or once every 2 years, he would call me from a Whataburger. Like he would have just left and randomly drove down by himself to a Whataburger to get one. And so that's how ingrained it is. But since moving down here, it's a decent burger, but it's not. I don't know what his infatuation with it is, but that's his thing, dude. It's his. I feel like sometimes he'll never be as proud of me as he is of anybody that's ever been affiliated with Whataburger. You know what I mean? Like we could own this restaurant that we're trying to do, and we can, build it into something incredible, which is what we're trying to do. And it could happen. I really have a vision for it, but will it ever be he would be more impressed if I was a janitor at Whataburger. You know what I'm saying? Like, you work at Whataburger, son? Really? I'm going to come see you at work today. I'm going to drive down and see you. Get me a sandwich, And my manager could be like, a paraplegic that would slap you with a dead fish or something that rolls around in one of those motorized little wheelchairs and that you blow in and to move. And that could be my manager. And he would be like, you should look up to that guy, son. That's what you should be, So he loves Whataburger, and to pay a little bit of homage to him, the day before, when we were visiting with the banker, and right when we actually wrapped up the show, we were at Harbor Freight that day too, Monday, and we finished our free show of the OK Taco Show in the parking lot of Harbor Freight, which is real romantic. And then went and did our shopping, and Shannon was like, I'm hungry, and I had just got a text from my beautiful child bride saying, oh, dinner's about ready. And I was like, I better not eat, bud. My wife made dinner. And that's an old school thought for both of it. I not only do, I respect the fact that she put the effort to make a dinner, but I'm not going to disrespect it by ruining my appetite and spending money. I want to go down and I want to support her efforts. So he's like, well, I got to get a sandwich. So he pulled into Whataburger, and I checked my application. I downloaded the Whataburger app, and sure enough, I had a free sandwich, a free junior Whataburger on there. And I said, well, this isn't spending any money. I'll order this. And it's just karma. It's karma because I ordered it. We walked in, nobody in there, because it's like 5 in the afternoon. Walk in. There's a young, very handsome gentleman working behind the counter, which is rare. A little heavy, but he had a good structure, good bone structure. Could be handsome with a little effort. And Shannon walks up to him. I've already placed my order for a Whataburger Junior and toasted the bun. You can do that on the app, which is awesome. And so Shannon goes up and orders a blue cheese Whataburger. But before he does, he asks this guy, hey, do you like the blue cheese Whataburger? That's a friendly thing to do as a customer, a patron. Hey, I see you're advertising this thing. Do you like it? Now, in my opinion, a good employee would be like, I do. It's really good. I love it. Or, it's not my favorite, but my favorite is this one. And just name another sandwich, And if you're good, you probably name another sandwich that's either the same price or a little bit more. And you sell somebody on it. That's what Shannon was looking to do. He's looking to get sold on a sandwich. So the guy instead says, I don't like cheese, which is, I don't know how you get hired at a Whataburger if you don't like cheese. Because, buddy, it's everywhere here. This place its original name could have been What a Cheese, because it's the things we're doing with it. We'll put it on chicken. We'll put it on breakfast. We'll put it anywhere. So I don't like cheese, but I've heard we've sold a lot of the blue cheese hamburgers, so maybe it is good. I don't know. So Shannon ordered it. It's not good because it's blue cheese. Even if you have a liking for that bitterness, like Shannon does, because he's getting older. When you get a little bit older, you like beets. You know what I mean? You like rotten cheese. The stinkier the better, people would say. That's just what happens. I think once you hit 40, you start liking you know what sounds good? A cherry tomato. And, a younger person would be like, no, a cherry sounds good. Did you say cherry tomato? That doesn't sound good. So he ordered it, and then he asked me, hey, man, what do you want? And I said, I ordered mobile order, Conrad. And he's like, oh, we're still finishing up on it. I was like, yeah, it's no big deal. I'll go sit down. And he's like, you want a drink? And I said, yeah, just a water is fine. That's usually what I do, because I'm not going to pay $3 for a fountain drink. So I'm a cheap, dirty, dirty bastard. And so he said, don't worry about it. Handed me a full, what he said was a medium, which is like the size of probably 50 ounces of soda. Just get what you want. I don't care. Don't worry about it. It's on the house. It's like, gosh, that's awesome. It never happens. And so I thought, man, everything's going great. I get a free sandwich and a free drink. It's my day, dude. Golden boy, maybe we've shifted, Shannon's about to get a rotten cheeseburger, and I'm getting this. And so go over there. I just get a tea and sit down, and we're listening to the great soundtrack at Whataburger. I mean, Barefoot Army, with Kenny Chesney's on there, everybody. And so they bring us our sandwich. This woman, this woman voter has been working there for probably 50 or 60 years, it looked like. She come crawling over with our stuff and set it down. And I opened mine up, and I took a bite, and I was like, man, that's good. It's good sauce, and it's good toast. They burnt the crap out of it. So my burger was black, It was black. And it was like fox sole, you know what I mean? And I kept eating. I kept taking a bite. And I realized about halfway through, I said, it's weird. And I opened it. There was no patty on it. There was no patty on my burger. So, thinking I was getting over and that I was the golden boy and that things were finally going my way, I was quickly put back in my place. The Karma credit card had realized it had made an error and it righted itself. The universe righted itself and said, you can't sneak a free meal and not have a catch. And so I ate 2 pieces of burnt toast with lettuce and mayonnaise on them, man. So, yeah. And to be honest with you, it wasn't bad. It was not bad. There's a tomato in there, too, so it wasn't bad. So anyways, that was Monday. And then yesterday, after our, daily Harbor Freight visit, Shannon's like, I'll take you. And I thought we were going to Long John or maybe Whataburger, but he took me somewhere real special. And he's not that much older than me, but sometimes it gets, people don't know. Maybe he had me when he was 10. You know what I mean? Like people, now that's normal in Oklahoma. And so, especially back then, back in the late 70s, early 80s, kids could do that. So basically people were looking like this dad's taking his adult son out to lunch, to late lunch. And he took me to his favorite spot, Buffalo Wild Wings. He B-dubbed me, man. And so I haven't been to a Buffalo Wild Wings in probably 15 years. Now, nothing's changed. It's not like I missed anything. Last time I was at one, I remember, and it might not be the exact last time, but we used to go to B-dubs when I was in high school because on Wednesdays or Thursdays, one or the other, they had 50-cent wings. And so for $4, you'll get 8 wings, or $5, you'll get 10 wings. And we go crazy. We go get 20 wings or 50 wings or something. We all split them up. And the worst experience maybe of my life, dude, is being probably a senior, maybe a junior, or maybe that time period in between there. And my friend Danny and my friend Jared and I, there might have been others that met us there. Maybe Nate. I had this one friend named Nate, and we kind of all hung out together. But we were staying the night at Jared's house that night. And both Danny and I were going to do that. We're going to stay the night at Jared's house. And we went over to Buffalo Wild Wings, and we did the 10-wing, whatever the hottest sauce they have, challenge. You know what I mean? They have an insane sauce or something like that. And I think I ate them all, but it was awful. I mean, you're sweating, and you don't enjoy your food at all, and the whole experience is ruined because it's all over your fingers and your face and your hands and you're in your mouth, and you can't get satisfaction, and it's like, why did you do this? But you did it because you're young and you're stupid. And so we did that challenge. Jared and I did. I think Danny at that time. Danny was an older guy. Like, he was in our grade, but he was like 3 or 4 years older than us. He'd been held back a couple times, and he's a smart fella, but a lot of that comes with wisdom. That's age. He didn't seem especially smart, being that much older than us, but anyways, he had the wisdom to not ruin his meal by doing something so dumb just for ego or bragging rights or something like that. Because he realized earlier than us, or maybe it was his age difference that those few years there, but he had already learned that nobody cares at all that you're doing this, except you and the person that you're doing it with. So if you and Jared are going to do this, you two care, but nobody around you cares, and they all think you're stupid. But anyways, we ate those hot wings, and we ruined our meal, and we went back to Jared's house. And luckily, to continue our competition, we decided, hey, we have this bottle of Jose Cuervo Gold tequila at the house. And let's see how many shots we can do. Let's have a shot. This is how people die. This is how alcohol poisoning, all that stuff. So that's what we did. We sat there, and I don't know how many shots we had, probably 9, but for non-drinking, water-headed high schoolers, that's a lot. And so by the end of the night, there's nothing worse. And I have broken my back. I mean, that's not a figure of speech. I have had a broken back. I've had torn my ACL, my MCL. I've cut and put 40 stitches into my legs. I broke my arm. I broke my wrist. I broke my fingers. I broke my leg. I've had injuries before. Real injuries. Nothing hurts as much as doing 10 shots of Jose Cuervo Gold at 17 years old and throwing up the hottest hot chicken, having that stuff come back up. Because bile and throw up is nasty and hot anyways, and acidy. But if you combine that with the hottest hot sauce at this is pre-snowflake territory, dude. This was back when you could say a hot sauce is hot, and it was. And they didn't do it for fun. Like now you can just, now an infant can have Buffalo Wild Wings insane sauce. You could give it to a baby duck. A baby duck could eat it and love it, So I was just, Danny was, although he escaped the pain of the throw up, he did not escape the pain of drinking Jose Cuervo, which is an awful tequila, and it should be banned. And that's when there's a reason why Mexico is stuck in the freaking Middle Ages. It's because that's their export, dude. That and drug. But anyways, Danny was on the toilet, sitting on the toilet and holding the wastebasket. That move, and I'm throwing up in a bathtub, and it's disgusting. It was awful. And so I haven't been back, and I don't tell people that. I didn't tell Shane, like, hey, can't go here. I have bad memories. I was just like, okay, I'll go, because he was going to buy me lunch for helping him on the BMW. And so we go there. Nobody's there, Nobody ever is anymore at Buffalo Wild Wings. And we sit. They have that. The reason Shannon likes this is somehow in Shawnee, Oklahoma, they have a separate room. And I thought Shannon was saying you have to go smoke. You can actually smoke outside, which even that's rare for there to be outdoor smoking where they're still serving food in any location. But the reason he likes this place is you can actually smoke inside the bar area. They figured out some sort of loophole in the law or done the right things or realized nobody's ever going to check here because it's a Buffalo Wild Wings. And so this is the place that Shannon usually watches the show Moneyball, which is a terrific movie. And I asked as we were walking in, hey, is Moneyball on any of the TVs in here? And the lady's like, no, what? So it wasn't. But thankfully it wasn't because, we sit down and we're on the heels of, all the stuff that we're going through of just trying to secure this really, in the grand scheme of things, this really small amount of money to start our new little life here, our new business. And so that's in our minds. It's top of mind. We just had a meeting with the banker. And so it's really fun to be sat amongst basically the idiocracy of restaurants. I mean, I don't know if you recall that movie that Mike Judge made, but when idiocracy, in the era that it takes place, I think it's Fuddruckers, but they change it to butt effers. You know what I mean? So, and then you just talk to a machine, and it's like treats you like Buffalo Wild Wings is that. You sit down, there's 800 TVs surrounding you, and each one is playing a version of Millionaires or 100,000-aires, whatever these sports announcers get paid, are sitting there talking to you about the stories of the day about Dak Prescott and his finger. And so I'll look up Dak Prescott. It's like, what's his contract and what has he earned so far throughout his career? It's like, oh, he's earned $165 million so far, and he's played 50 something games, and he's won this many. And so basically the Cowboys have paid $3 million per win or something. I go through all the math on it. And, we're sitting here talking about this. Can we qualify for this loan as we listen to all of these announcers talk about not the money that they're spending. It doesn't matter. It's like, it's just crazy. It's such a crazy thing that this is popular amongst us as people that don't, the entertainment, the reason these people is because we watch it. And is it fun for us to watch this happen? To watch somebody get this exorbitant sum of money for a skill that they say is the reason that they can get that money is because it's marketable. People want to watch it. And it's like, I don't know if people do because it's the only thing that you'll put on TV. If maybe people would watch something else, maybe they'd be more entertained by something else. But if all you do is force something down people's throats, it's like, well, yeah, we love it. Now we have to get to know the people if we want to be part of the culture because you've built this culture. So anyways, you're like in the middle of this constant, there's Stephen A. Smith and there's Alex Feinbaum and there's all these, beautiful, beautiful women that are holding pieces of paper to talk about Aaron Rodgers, and it just goes on. There's Jalen Rose and Jacoby, whoever that is, I don't know, but they're all over the damn walls and they're just sitting there yelling at each other. And you are like, is this fun for people to sit here and be like, there's a good point. Hey, they're getting ready to talk about, what the Cowboys are going to, like, who's going to be affected by Dak Prescott's injury on the team. Let's watch this. Like, who cares? That's what you want to yell internally. Who cares? But and if there are people that care, why is it broadcast to everybody? Let them go seek that information out. I don't mind that exists, but for it to be the only thing that you're broadcasting over 15 different networks, really, does that mean people care, or are you just making us all care because we can't escape it? And thankfully, they have 2 TVs that aren't focused on that aren't focused on the NFL or the NBA or the major sports things. So on each of the far walls, so the wall that I'm looking at, there is basically a channel of failure, a channel of sports failure, meaning like the stuff you see when there's a skater that is doing a trick on the stairs and he racks himself on that handicap accessible bar, which I bet, the ADA never factored that in as a consequence. I bet Harvey Milk never thought of that. That, yeah, it is unfortunate that there's no handicap access to a lot of these places. But what he didn't realize by requiring every business to be handicap accessible is that by adding these rails, they're actually going to create more handicaps, because all of a sudden skaters find out that there's a new rail. They're going to go try to skate it. They're going to break their bodies, and then they'll be handicapped and need that rail, not for cool kick flips, but to actually get into the library that they were previously skating in front of. So I bet they never thought that there would be a consequence of, by adding handicap accessible points to a building, they might actually be creating more handicaps. But anyways, I was watching a TV that was just depicting all this stuff. And it's like, what the hell am I watching? I mean, I don't want to come eat chicken and watch people get racked. Like, is that where we're at? I mean, or okay, don't watch it then. Watch what the Cowboys are going to do about Dak Prescott. Like, no, put Moneyball on. So I turned. I said, I'm going to turn around. I'm not going to watch this anymore. Turned around, and on the other screen is the Drew Barrymore show. Drew Barrymore has a show now on daytime television. It's kind of like what, I guess, Ricky Lake, I guess. I don't know. Oprah. Instead of Oprah, there's Drew Barrymore. And so I turn around, and Drew Barrymore is with a guest. I'm sure it's some actress, some celebrity. And they're cooking, bud, because there is nothing that people like watching more than people cook. That's what people love. And so if you're going to tune in to watch Drew, you're going to watch Drew do her cooking segment. That's what happens on Tuesdays or Mondays, She's going to do her cooking segment. And she brought out, she was cooking some breakfast tacos, baby. This is how she likes to make them at home, she said. It's how I like to make them. I like to put eggs in there and bacon. And there's people that are in the audience like, oh my God, I never thought of that. Really? You just scramble eggs. And how does that go again? Like, do you shake the egg before you put it in the pan? How do you scramble it, Drew? Show us. Drew shows you. Here's how I scramble them. Boom. Scrambled. Okay. I got it. Put them in the tortilla. I'll put cheese on mine because I'm not lactose intolerant. But if you are, don't do it. Cheese is a lactose. Thank you, Drew. Thank you. Can't wait to go home and try this recipe with my family. And Drew's dressed in a very baggy man suit. That's her. So she wears a t-shirt tucked into gigantic dress pants, men's dress pants that are very baggy on her. And she wears a suit jacket over her, usually trendy, Rolling Stones lips t-shirt, and then rolls the sleeves up like she's, frickin' some sort of 1991 stand-up comic, you know what I mean? And I thought that's an interesting, and it's funny because I'd actually just watched a Sam Kinison bit or something from when he was alive, and he dressed like that. He had that suit and he rolled up. She basically got, I think she won an eBay auction, got all of Sam Kinnison's old suits, and she's wearing them on a show, and nobody said anything because we can't say anything anymore. Well, I'll say something. And the only reason it's a huge deal to me is because today, when I got done doing the banking side and that stuff and the whatever crap, I went into our bedroom where what's so great is about the state of television right now is everything is streaming. So if you got to buy internet, and internet's ridiculously expensive, but you got to have it because you're forced to almost if you want to exist amongst the people. Now, I do think that there's a growing anxiety and a growing trend and a growing internal pressure for a lot of people that are tired of listening to all of it because there is no news on the news and there is no sports on the sports and there is no any of that. And this is all just garbage being thrown at us. And you try to flip through the channels and it's just garbage. And so, but I like it. I've always liked that. But the problem when you do this is that you family share. We steal Sling TV from my dad, but then you get locked out and you're like, hey man, what? Because it'll just, for whatever reason, an app will update. So the only TV in the house now that still has access to like the ability to channel surf of live programming is in my bedroom, which is weird because it could be in the middle of the day and it's like, I just want to go watch the news, but I can't sit in the living room or turn it on and have it in the background as I'm working because it's all the way in my bedroom. It's like, I'm going to go lay down and watch the news. I'm going to go see what's going on. And the news is very much Queen heavy right now, which is understandable. So there's not much on that front. So as I'm flipping through stations, I notice, guess what's on? Just the last minute. The last minute of the Drew Barrymore show's on, guys. So I click it on. And she's standing amongst the audience. And this is what I really noticed. I really noticed that they're still required, the audience, every one of the audience had the exact same mask on. So they still had to wear masks. And they're all the yellow ones because nobody, when they showed up to the taping, thought like, well, guys, it's the end of 2022 and the CDC has said that you don't have to wear a mask anymore. So clearly we're not going to be required. But, it must be shot in California because, put your mask on. Here, take this yellow one. So Drew is standing there in a David Byrne suit talking to these masked audience members about what she loves about Las Vegas. And she's got like 2 minutes left of her show. And it cuts to that it's not a roller coaster. It's a theme park ride that you sit in. It's the one that one kid died on. A 17-year-old, and I don't think it was in Las Vegas. Might have been at a Six Flags or something. Maybe it was Vegas. But there was a boy that was overweight, but just a big guy. I mean, like a 370-pound man boy, an offensive lineman type that went with his buddies. And then somebody's like, hey, you want to ride this ride? He's like, yeah. And the person, because it's just a water-headed, former Whataburger employee, was like, sure, dude, get on. And there's a weight restriction. And it means something because this thing shoots you off at 3,000 miles an hour, makes your butthole shoot through the top of your head, and then drops you back down like a detonator. I think that's called the detonator. It's like you sit around this silo of fear, and then the clock ticks, and it just fires you up in the air at 1,000,000 miles an hour, and then it stops instantly. And that guy weighed so much that when it got to where it stopped instantly, he just slid right out of that sumbitch. So that's freaking sad, and that's why I hate amusement parks, because it's not that I don't trust the engineers, and the odds are, dude, if you follow the specs, if you are this high, if you're this tall, you're going to be fine. But if you're heavy and there's a restriction and the 14-year-old that's running the machine doesn't know how to be like, and can't ask. It used to be in the 70s you could ask anybody how much they weigh. You look at people, hey, woman, how much do you weigh? And they wouldn't get offended. They'd be like, I weigh this. And good, you can write it. you're asking for safety, but now you can't ask because somebody would sue, And so they didn't ask, and that kid got on it and died, but, they cleaned up the blood the best they could, and now Drew Barrymore has taken her crew over. She's like, anytime I'm in Las Vegas, the first thing I do when I get to Vegas is I ride this ride. It's like, that's the first thing you do. That's a ridiculous statement, Drew, and you don't, but great segue. And so it shows them, and when she's telling us this, she's wearing the David Byrne suit. She's wearing the gigantic suit. She's in the audience wearing the big suit. And when it cuts to her getting on that ride, she's in the big suit. And I guess that's just her suit now. That's just what she's doing. And I don't know if she's doing it waiting for somebody to ask, but nobody can anymore. We all think it. We're like, what the hell are you wearing? I get it. You want to be modest, or you don't have to. I almost appreciate it. Like, you don't have to. She's, still Drew Barrymore. She's got a killer body, even as an older lady. I mean, I think she's probably 30, maybe 50. I don't know. She looks great. I mean, in comparison to the other talk show host that comes on after, Kelly Clarkson, Drew Barrymore looks great. Kelly Clarkson needs a David Byrne suit. But Drew Barrymore, nobody's saying anything, and so I guess she's just going to continue doing this. So, anyways, hats off to her. I'm glad I watched it. I'm glad I seen it at Buffalo Wild Wings, too. And then I was also glad that when I turned from it, and started talking about, like, isn't that great that she's teaching people how to make breakfast? That's pretty cool. And Shannon and I talked about that for quite a while. Above his shoulder on that TV that was showing the basically sports fails, there was also a commercial for Red Bull, and it's just a guy doing parkour. And, like, if you can sit down and eat yourself a chicken sandwich and some fries, which is what I had, and to be honest with you, I will say this: it was very good. I've never had Nashville hot chicken, and now this wasn't. There's many different variations of that, and the one that I picture in my head is the one where the chicken breast that's on your sandwich is like just basically cayenne red. You know what I mean? And it's all kind of baked into the chicken or fried into the chicken. This one, they just have a Nashville-style hot sauce that they drizzled all over this sandwich, and it was good, though. It was a damn good sauce. It was good. So I enjoyed that sandwich, and I enjoyed watching parkour. Because when you're eating chicken, dude, you got to see somebody jumping off bridges and jumping into trolley cars and jumping into sand pits and hanging on to excavators. I mean, are you wanting to relax? Because welcome to Buffalo Wild Wings. Have a cigarette and watch a guy rack himself. And listen to, why TJ Watt won't have to miss 6 weeks because of a pectoral tear in week 1. All right, this is great. And it was. And so and Shannon paid for it for helping him out on his car. And then we got back to Random Dude Ranch. Finished it up. The tools didn't work that we bought, but we got it going, and we got it figured out. We got it put back together, and I got home, and my kids were still up, and I got to read to my daughter, and so it was a good day. And I don't know. I mean, if you want to spend a day watching Drew Barrymore make breakfast tacos and watching people, navigate an alley in some sort of urban city, you want to do that in Buffalo Wild Wings. And that's what we did. And I got to thank Shannon for that. So thank you, buddy. But it brings me to, I didn't get to anything on the list. I did. I had Buffalo Wild Wings, but I had a lot of other stuff on here. And that's usually what happens when I sit down and I haven't really spoken to anybody all day. So, sorry. But if you want to get yourself, I know that I think there's probably free trials of this, because I don't know if it exists anywhere else. But please get a free trial of YouTube TV, okay? And I don't know what pack. I think if it's a base package that you can sign up for. You probably don't even know. You might have to sign up for the sports. But first get the free and see if this is included. There's a channel on there called Billiard TV. And it's exactly what I'm talking about. It's pool. It's billiards. And even before last night, it's there. I mean, like, there's also an algorithm within this app where you have 80 or 100 channels to choose from of live programming. But your homepage gives you about 10 options of what they think that you're going to like based on your viewing history. And so, the CNNs and the MSNBCs and the Fox Newses and all the ones that I try to cycle through to get a clear idea of how idiotic our country is becoming, those are there. But then also there's Billiard TV. It's right there. And when it's there, something about watching people play pool is oddly satisfying, especially when they're doing it at such an incredible level. Because if you've ever played pool, you know how difficult it can be, but how simple it should be. And when I was probably in my mid-20s and we had a shop, and it was long before divorces and broken homes, and that really wrecked that really wrecked a lot of this. But my dad and his partner had built a shop that was awesome, and it was air conditioned, and we put is to work on everything. And we had a really nice work area, two bay area to work on the lawnmowers and all the stuff we needed to work on and be out of the weather. And it was a hangout though for us during snow removal and all that stuff. It was perfect. It was the perfect location. It was a perfect thing. That was his vision. That was my dad and his partners, and they nailed it. It was great. But in there, we had a pinball machine and we had a snooker table. And a snooker is just a version of billiards where it's been so long since I played. It's a bigger table. It's longer. It's like a foot longer, probably wider also. The pockets are smaller, and the balls are smaller. The cue ball, I think, is the same size, but the balls that are in the field are smaller. And you have all red balls, I think. But, or maybe I think it's all red. I forget how it works. Anyways, there's ways that you would snooker people by your shot would prevent them from making their shot. And I don't even remember how you played it, to be quite honest with you. And you could play regular, we had a set of regular 8-ball, 9-ball, all that stuff to play. But we would play snooker. We would play the actual English version, and it was fun. And so if you have that just base knowledge, when you do, it's kind of like watching golf on TV. If you've played golf and you know how incredibly simple and easy, and it's just a game of, it's a mental game and it's a game of consistency. But you get so frustrated because it should be so easy, and that's why it's so frustrating. So when you watch people make it look so damn easy, it's why it's like, oh my God, I can't believe he made that shot, or I can't believe he made that putt, or in the same thing with billiards. It's like, can't believe. And there's when you're watching Billiard TV, you don't even know the level of the competitor that you're watching. This could be an unranked person, but they're still better than anybody you ever met. You know what I mean? This is just an incredible player, because usually you'll get a guy that breaks, and if he makes it on the break, it's done. That set is over, and they play like to a set of 8, or I don't know, depending on the game. So last night I turn it on because, of course, I'm scrolling by and it's in my algorithm. Oh, this is something. Oh, Billiard TV. And I click it and it catches me. I've never seen this before. And they're playing a version of, and they weren't telling me what kind of pool it was, but there's no pockets. They're not playing with pockets. So there's 3 balls out on the table at all times. And your objective is to, with one shot, hit your opponent's cue ball and hit the other ball that's on the table. And your opponent uses the yellow ball and the other one uses the white ball as their cue ball. And so I started watching it, and then Heather was in the shower, and she'd come in bedroom. She's like, "What are you doing?" It's like, "Watch this. This is the craziest thing I've ever seen." And because it's so impressive. Because in order to do this, and there's a shot clock. You have 40 seconds to do this, each shot. So you walk up to a 3-ball table with no holes, and you realize, I got to hit this ball, and then I have to hit it in a way that's going to make my ball bounce in these angles and trajectories for it to ultimately hit this ball. And I have to hit it all in such a way that my next shot, I can do it again, and I can continue to do this. Because you have to win a certain number of sets before you win that round. And I don't know, you could be on the 8th set. I don't know how many are in each set. They don't explain anything. When you turn on Billiard TV, they act as if you know everything. They don't explain anything to you. And you just sit there and watch it going, what the hell's going on here? What's so nuts is there's a judge there. You know what I mean? There's 2 people. There's a bowl-cut Asian in the match that we watched. Freaking super bowl-cut Asian. Great player. And he's playing against some Greek, a Grecian man. And the announcers are talking about, like, we should know them. You should know these 2 guys. They've been in the game a long time. Are they the best in the world? We don't know. Not really. Probably not. But they're really competitive. They've won a lot of matches. And I'm like, holy crap, I have never heard of these guys, I'm stupid. I'm uninformed, but I should have known. And now I do, so I guess. Thank you. I don't know their names, and I'll never remember them. And I wouldn't probably know them if I seen them again. Maybe the Asian, because of the bowl cut. But you sit there, and it's like, for all the stuff that sits there and runs around in my head, and all the problems that I feel like are real problems and things that I got going on, this guy's problem was, how am I going to get to because they're not going to it's not like when you win this, I think you get like a Dodge Neon or like a 97 Neon, or like you don't win money. And if you do win money, it's not even really enough to buy anything. But you have to be a master at this, meaning you have to put all of your effort, all of your practicing into this sport. You don't watch frickin' Drew Barrymore. You play. And I looked it up after. It's called Carom Billiards. It starts with a C, but I think it's called Carom Billiards. And it's just a style of play. It's been around since the 1800s. I've never even heard of it. You have something that's been around for 200 and something years. And you feel like you're a pretty educated person, and you didn't even know it existed. And then that there's people that are so good at it that they'll go play tournament at it. Which means that there's probably people that aren't good at it, that still play it. And there's people in an audience on a televised thing. Now, granted, it's Billiard TV. It's low production, and the announcers aren't great. And the quality of the director's not great, and their switcher's not great. That's fine. It makes it better to watch. And so as I'm watching, I'm also watching the audience, because the audience is like, yeah, I took off work to come watch this today. What'd you watch? Oh, I wouldn't watch these guys play pool. Oh, cool. Like 8-ball? No. Like, carom. What? You took off work to watch what? What is that? And he has explained it, and like, I don't know. And nobody will understand it unless you see it. But it is the most impressive thing that you'll see. Because you're talking about dudes that within 20 seconds, have made a decision that when they hit this ball, it's going to hit that ball. It's going to bounce off these 14 rails. It's going to slow down just enough and barely nick this other ball, and they're going to be ready for their next shot. And they are, and they freaking do it, dude. Both of them were great, even the bowl cut. It was awesome. And I was telling Heather, I was like, you know how like unaffected life must be for somebody that's that good at that pool? That's so difficult that you have to make a decision so quickly, and it has to be precise. Not just the angles, the speed, all of it. And you do it, and you're great at it. When you go out in like the real world and somebody's like, hey, can you handle this? It's like, yeah, you can handle anything because you can play carom billiards. That's nuts. And it's nuts I didn't know it existed. So, anyways, I didn't get to a few things, but I'll get to them tomorrow. I probably won't. But I appreciate you guys watching. And if you have a chance, dude, find somebody that has YouTube TV and steal their password and watch this Billiard TV. Okay, I think it's exclusively broadcast there. Maybe you can find it online. Find videos on YouTube itself. It's called Carom Billiards, and go ahead and watch that. Let me know what you think. Keep subscribe to the show, whether it be the Connie G Show or Con Radio, and be nice to yourself out there, and believe in yourself. And with that being said, have an okay day. Don't let your meat loaf.